I'm just going to go ahead and say it, guys. The root of steroids is insecurity. That's my biggest opinion. I would say 98% of people that do steroids, male or female, the root of it is actually insecurity or self worth issues deep down. And, personally, I've known many, many, many people, and I actually currently have friends that are on steroids. And each one of them, I've been able to kind of, psychoanalyze or, to a degree to where I realized, they have some self esteem issues. One thing that I'll admit for sure that I picked up on is guys that do steroids, they usually have issues with their ego. They're very egocentric people. They felt lesser than at a point in their life, or skinny, or bullied, or picked on, and they wanted to obviously better themselves, but they took that route. And so a lot of it boils down to ego. And a lot of these guys, this is the cringiest part of all of it. A lot of these guys, most of them can't actually cold approach a girl. So I've had a friend, he literally looks like a Greek god. He did fitness modeling. We were really close. And I talked about this on the channel before, but he had to do a cold approach of a girl for the first time in his life. And he just can't do it. Like the anxiety, he's like just freaking out, and it's not congruent with how he looks, right? He looks like this guy that bangs all these hot chicks, is a super alpha giga chad, but so he just shies away from it. He never did it again. And, to me, that's just so pathetic. A lot of these guys rely on their looks to feel good enough. And a lot of these guys are gym cells. In my opinion, gym cells are the cringiest fake alpha males out there. These are guys that go to the gym, stab themselves in an ass with a needle. They're jeopardizing their health, and they're still not getting pussy. Then I also see guys that do steroids, and their fucking girlfriend is atrocious. And so I'm like, wow, this guy's really, pumping all the shit in his body, risking his health just to get that. Like, come on, man. Like, if there's people like Hulk Hogan, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who did steroids, and without doing steroids, they probably wouldn't have been Arnold Schwarzenegger, probably wouldn't have been Hulk Hogan, right? Well, at least those guys, Barry Bonds, I know he, was cheating in that realm, but Alex Rodriguez, but at least those people accomplished great things and built a legacy and made millions, right? That's kind of the only way I see steroids making sense, right? As if you're like pursuing something, even bodybuilding. I don't even agree with it from a bodybuilding standpoint. I know some people are passionate about bodybuilding, but risk reward, guys. Bodybuilding is like, it's for a $5 trophy. What is it? $100,000 prize or whatever to be Mr. Olympia, the number one bodybuilder in the world, which, let's be honest, no one's going to be that, if most likely. And I just feel like a lot of these guys, they're risking their health for self-esteem issues, to feel better, to try to get girls, to try to feel more respected, to try to feel powerful. And I think a lot of these people, it's going to end up biting them in the butt. A lot of these guys, I'm telling you, when they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s, they get premature heart conditions, they get premature cancers. Steroids makes everything grow, even tumors, fat, cancerous cells. It makes everything grow, especially if you're injecting things like GH. There's all other types of shit, peptides that these people are doing. It's fucking crazy these days. These people are doing melanotan. It's a very superficial world that we live in. And these guys, I really don't think that they feel good enough inside without steroids. And, steroids at the end of the day, while they're non addictive, I believe kind of like with marijuana, it's mentally addictive, right? That people say marijuana, it's not physically addictive, but it's mentally addicting. I think the same with steroids, right? Because a lot of these guys, and you could watch, talk to people who've been on steroids, but if they get off cycle and they lose their gains or 50% of their gains, like their whole self image is destroyed, right? Their whole self image is contingent on, and I'm vain to a degree. I really do care about how I look, and I put a lot of emphasis on it, but I've decided to stay natural. I know that I would be way more attractive if I was on steroids. I know that I'd probably even get more girls. I'd feel more confident. I'd feel like Superman. But at what cost, right? I'm someone, I personally hate needles. I fucking hate needles. One of my biggest pet peeves in life, things that I hate, phobias. But even if I didn't hate needles, right? It's the long-term damage. And once you get on steroids, you can never get off of the shit. I don't care what anyone says. You really need to be on TRT the rest of your life. You could do one cycle and PCT off of it, but at the end of the day, if you're on steroids for any significant amount of time or numerous cycles, you got to be on testosterone replacement therapy for the rest of your life. So you're jabbing yourself on your ass in a retirement home when you're fucking 85 years old in a wheelchair. Is that something you want to do every day? Or not every day, but for the rest of your life is what I mean. Not me, right? I know a buddy. I feel like he may have little man syndrome. He takes steroids. He's kind of abused PEDs in the past, and he said he's going to be on Anavar the rest of his life. That blew my fucking mind. Like, what decision? Like, first off, that's an oral steroid, so it's really dangerous on your liver and kidneys. But regardless of that, like, I'm going to be on steroids the rest of my life, man. Like, how did people get to that mental place in life? Like, you know, I feel like I'm a huge risk taker. I'm going to make some videos on the channel talking about, poker, gambling. I am a massive risk taker, but I don't want to take a risk with my health to that degree. At the end of the day, our health is our wealth. Our health is really all that we have. And, yeah, I feel like these guys, their ego is too contingent on their physical appearance, and it really creates a false sense of identity that they have. So this is a short video. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on this. Um, what your thoughts are regarding the risk to reward of steroids. People that in your personal life that have done steroids, do you think they're truly confident? Do they really get girls? Will they get girls without steroids? I think what men need to focus on more is true deep inner healing, charisma. Still be good looking as to a degree, but you don't need to push it to that extreme. There's another buddy. The last example I'll give is basically all he does is go to the gym and work and play poker. And these guys, you look at them and you're like, fuck, like they could get any girl they want, but like they've had traumas, they've had self-limiting beliefs. They literally have told me, dude, like white girls don't like me. And this guy, you know, I'm not going to say his national. He's Middle Eastern basically, but he's a very good looking guy. He's light skinned. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? And like, he just has these. He just won't. He's just very mentally guarded, and it all boils down to the gym and just overcompensation. So, anyways, I'm going to wrap the video up as usual. Lots of content coming out on the channel. Feel free to drop down below any type of topics you'd like me to react to. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Trying to hit, my first 50 subscribers on this channel. So appreciate you being on the journey with me, and have a great rest of your day.